Who is it? You saucy.
Trust, mastering the force into trust. Trust in self, trust in God, trust in others, and trust in life. You want to trust in others. It's Bayana Ramzant. If I said it wrong, hi, come back to my channel. If you're new, thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment. If you are not new, this is second, third time, whatever. Thanks for the support. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment down below, like, subscribe, share. Thank you. Also comment down below if you get something from this that video. I'm on trust in others right now, but chapter 9 excuses. A relationship without trust is like a car without gas. You can stay in it all you want, but it won't go anywhere. Unknown. This was not the first time Max had violated Cece's trust and then denied having done so on several occasions. He had stolen money from her and tearfully protested her accusations at least 3 times. And he had failed to honor her boundaries or to respect the rules of the house more times than she cared to remember. Each time Cece made excuses for her brother, she told herself that Max was young, that he was still learning, and that he needed repeated instructions to get the gist of what was being offered to him. Each time she wanted to believe him, but doing so meant that she had to diminish, deny, or dismiss her gut feeling. In order to trust him, she had to distrust herself and disown her intuition, because the truth about Max was simply too difficult to accept. She chose to violate herself instead. This time Cece told herself that things would be different. That Max would be different. He had been out of home. He had been out of her home and partially out of her life for over a year. When he contacted her asking if he could stay for a few days until he could get in touch with a friend, he sounded different and it felt different. This time, he had a plan. He wanted to save some money and make a final break from his codependent girlfriend and get his own place. He talked about some of the things he had learned since his last departure and finally acknowledged his previous wrongdoings by asking her for forgiveness. Cece wanted to desperately believe that Max had changed, that she failed to consult with her own internal guidance system. His words had warmed her heart, and the truth was she missed him. This time, in an attempt to take a hard line, Cece gave Max clear boundaries and a time limit. He had 3 weeks to figure everything out. During those 3 weeks, he would have to work to earn his place, and he was not to have any guests in the home. 3 weeks turned into 3 months because he really toed the line. He was supportive and helpful in everything she asked of him. Well, there were a few slips here and there, but nothing major. The slips were caused more by mindlessness than intentional bad behavior. Things got a little rocky when Max re-engaged with his girlfriend, Megan. However, after their temporary separation, even she seemed different. Megan was more polite and attempted to be helpful when she did come around. When the two of them got into an argument, they would both back down and correct themselves as soon as they were challenged or questioned. Surely thereafter, one or both of them would apologize and things would return to a peaceful norm fairly quickly. In Cece's mind, all of this was concrete evidence that things had changed and that she could trust that Max was doing better. It was this process, the sound humility and his willingness to make corrections, that allowed her to believe he could be trusted. Cece stopped challenging the little things Max said and did that fell off. She relaxed her defenses. She ignored her concerns. She placed her trust in what she wanted to believe about Max rather than checking in with herself and holding fast to her boundaries. The surprise birthday party that her family organized shocked her. Without warning, what had started out as a quiet Saturday evening morphed into people everywhere, dancing, eating, and celebrating her on the special day. No one even knew what to give Cece as a gift, so they all gave her money. Each person came to her and offered words of love and gratitude as they stuffed some amount of money somewhere on her body. When it was all said and done, she had money glued, pinned, or taped everywhere on her body and on her clothes, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house, like a stripper. She peeled the bills off and threw them into a basket. It was hilarious, the highlight of the party. After Cece said goodbye to the last guest, she took the basket and placed it in the most sacred place in her home, her prayer room. believing that it would be safe there. She closed the door and went to bed. After the party, Max left the house to spend a few days with his cousin. The next morning, as scheduled, Cece left her home for a 3-day business trip. As she buckled her seatbelt, she had a brief indication to go back and move the money to hide it. But being too lazy to walk back and thinking that no one was home anyway, she ignored her gut feeling and took off as planned. That has happened to me surprisingly. I have had a gut feeling like that. Move this, change this, and something has always happened. Like recently, like last month, I broke my mug. So like I had this water bottle and it was my water bottle, and it just like you know how you don't knock it down, but you take it off like that. But guys, trust your gut feeling because you know not know. But on the morning Cece was scheduled to return, she got a telephone call from her sister who had forgotten she was away. Her sister had gone by the house looking for Cece to join her on a brief shopping trip. Her sister said that when she got to the house, she found Max in the kitchen counting money. At first, she didn't think anything about it, but then something just didn't feel right. Cece's heart dropped. She asked her sister to go into her prayer room and see if there was any money in the basket next to the vase of flowers. Her sister wanted to know where her birthday money was. Just go. She instructed her again. As Cece waited, her stomach went sour and her head began to ache. Her sister reported that there was $77 in the basket. Is that your birthday money? She asked. Cece wanted to hang up and throw up. Instead, she asked her sister to check the guest room to see if Max was there. He was not in the guest room but outside with the dog. Heartbroken, Cece told her sister to call all the men of the family and ask them to come and deal with the all too familiar situation. Cece's brother Max, whom she had trusted enough to allow to stay in her home again, offered again after too many betrayals, had stolen all but $77 of her birthday money because she didn't trust herself not to cause him severely bodily harm. Cece had to turn the situation over to the men and family who had vowed the last time that if Max betrayed her again, they would set him straight. How had this happened? Why had this happened? Cece laminated. In truth, it was painfully simple. Max had violated his sister again because she had wanted to believe that he actually changed. The first time she had discovered smoking in his room after she asked him not to smoke in her home was a sign that he could not be trusted to honor his word. Cece had been violated again because she put more stock in Max's smooth talk than she did her own gut feeling. She remembered that when she had returned home after the shopping trip, she had felt something that was not quite right, but she ignored it. Max had been a tad too friendly and he seemed restless. Later, when she had heard him talk on the phone, she decided to pursue what she had first ignored. In the conversation, she discovered that he had invited his friend over to the house to use the restroom after she had specifically asked him not to have anyone in the house in her absence. Cece let her annoyance to go after he swore the guy had been in the house for only 5 minutes to pee. If Cece's antennas had been up there, then she would have prepared herself for the even deeper indiscretion now. She was violated because she couldn't accept the unpleasant thoughts she had about her brother and unsettling feelings that kept surfacing. She beat her brother and unsettling feelings that she beat them down when they came up because Max's behavior seemed so different this time and his words sounded so sincere. In reality, though, there had been warning signs that she had refused to listen to. These signs, plus the small, seemingly insignificant violations, were mounting evidence that her trust had been misplaced. Cece knew that Max was impulsive, that he often acted out without thinking or considering the consequences. She knew that he had no sense of self-worth and therefore could not value their relationship or any relationship. Max said what he needed to say and did what he needed to do to get what he needed in the moment. The fact that this was a result of his childhood and life experience was none of her business. She knew he had been abandoned and rejected by both of his parents, and as a result, he had no self-esteem. She knew who he was and what he was capable of, and yet she expected him to behave differently. Max had spent the better part of his adult life sleeping on other people's sofas and living out of black plastic bags for all intents and purposes. He was homeless. Every place he stayed was temporary because he knew it would be only a matter of time before he did or said something that would get him put out. Max would try for as long as he could to toe the line and live up to the expectations. Now, Cece realized that Max didn't have the understanding or capacity perhaps even the desire to do better. She accepted that he was okay, knowing that sooner or later he would need to hustle up another temporary so for a corner in her back room. Cece was betrayed because she did not trust what she knew about the mismatch between her expectations and her brother's capacity. She expected Max to do what she knew he could do, not do what she knew he could not do, and to be who he was not. And finally, the bill came true.